It's me, it's Queen Heru, and thank you for joining me for another wonderful edition of Ask an Aquarius. If you haven't already, please hit the red subscribe button and smack the bell. So, I was talking to a woman, and she said to me that she has this guy, an Aquarius guy, that she's interested in, and she's a Sagittarius. And she said to me that she's very confused about his behavior. He has had several bad relationships. One recently ended. And she said she doesn't understand why it takes an Aquarius so long to heal or get over being hurt. Apparently, the first one happened, she said this happened when he was in like high school. And he's my age. He's like 43. He's older than me. And he said that the first heartbreak happened in high school. And she was like, why does it take Aquarius so long to get over being hurt? And she was like, she's known other Aquarius, and they would be harping on something that happened to them like 20 years before, 10 years before, 5 years before. And she was like, she just noticed that Aquarius have a really hard time getting over hurt. And she asked me why that is. Like, what is that about? And I told her, I said, you have to understand something. First of all, and most importantly, Aquarius are very guarded. We're very guarded in a lot of different ways. So it's very rare for us to allow someone in. Very rare. And when we do allow someone in and something goes wrong, which a lot of times when you're young, it does, and sometimes repeatedly, because Aquarius is so soft-hearted. People don't realize how soft-hearted Aquarius can be. Some of us, the darker ones, the low vibrational ones, nah, not them. But the regular ones, those of us who are regular and actually care about people, we have a tendency to be very soft-hearted and very generous. So a lot of us end up in situations where we get our feelings hurt because of that, because you're around people who aren't genuine sometimes. And if you let one of those non-genuine people in, they could wreak havoc on your life and take advantage, of somebody who's genuinely just trying to help them. So basically what happens is that the Aquarius, it's not easy to get close to us after a while. And so if we let somebody in and they do enough damage, we do have a very hard time getting over it. That's a very true statement. Aquarians will hold on to hurt. And it could be a long time. You said that the gentleman, it was like high school and he's like 43 now. That makes sense. That makes sense because I can think about things that happened to me throughout my lifetime. And see, I went through this process during priestess training. I went through a process of forgiveness. I went through this process twice. Once during priestess training and once when I left America. I decided to go through a process of forgiving everyone for everything and just letting them go. I was like, I'm gone, so why hold on to it? But the first time was priestess training. And when I did it the first time, I had grudges against people all the way back to childhood. When I did it the first time, I was like 28 years old, and I had grudges all the way back to the playground. So I didn't hate these people. I wasn't attacking these people, but I was still hurt by certain things that people said and did way back then, including my own family. And I went through a process during that time of forgiving and releasing. And then, like I said, when I moved, I did the same process again because new things had happened. And I wanted to make sure that I didn't take anything with me. That's why I started going on this journey to let go of my exes, like to stop, being upset about anything that happened, to heal the situation that was still, wounded in me about Voldemort. That's why I did all of those things, because I saw that those things were still lingering and I wanted to make sure that they were gone. So Aquarius do have a hard time with that. And not all Aquarius are like me. A lot of Aquarius don't deal with their feelings. I didn't always deal with my feelings. That's how I ended up in those bad situations and having such a bad emotional breakdown, because I hadn't dealt with all those feelings. So now I don't do that to myself. But a lot of Aquarius have not learned that trick yet. So they still do that. So some of the times you'll see an Aquarius who's still hurt because the Aquarius never dealt with it. That's why. They'll talk about it here and there. They might, discuss the situation with you if they trust you. They may tell you about it. But a lot of them have never dealt with it. They haven't done anything about it. They haven't gone to therapy. They haven't done any, journaling or any release work or forgiveness work. They just, it just kind of festers, So unfortunately, until you look at something and deal with it and you're willing to take accountability for your part, to see the other person's part, to forgive, to release, until you're ready to go through all of that process, typically an Aquarius will suppress and repress all that energy. So they'll just take that situation and put it into a drawer and close the drawer and not look back at it. So you wonder why they're not over it 10 years, 20 years later, because they have never dealt with it. They never dealt with it. They never thought about it again. Or if they do think about it, they think about it as what happened. I have this one Aquarius that I talk to. Every time we talk, we're talking about the past. I don't even know what's going on in her life in the present tense. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know what's going on in her present tense. All I know is what's going on in the past. We talk about the same 4 or 5 situations from the past every time I speak to her. And I do it because I know she needs to talk about them. I know she needs to address them. So when she brings them up, I don't get irritated with her, or like again, because I know that she's never dealt and unpacked these things. So I let her unpack them. But I have no idea what's going on in her present tense because every conversation we have is about the past. So like I said before, if you don't heal and reconcile the past, it doesn't go away. And a lot of people, they just shut off from it. And it's not just Aquarius. A lot of people just shut off from it, but it's still there. It hasn't gone anywhere. That hurt, that whatever that is still there. So in the case of Aquarius, we have to stop doing that and learn how to express our emotions. So that's the reason why so many of us hold on to hurt for so long. So the only thing I can tell you is, as the person who's interested in him, as the person on the outside, there's not very much you can do about that other than encourage him to unpack it. That's what I do with my Aquarius. Whenever they come to me for readings or, talks or whatever, I just encourage them to unpack it, meaning talk about it. Talk about what happened, talk about your feelings, your thoughts about it. And then after it goes for a certain amount of time, I start encouraging them to try to heal it, to try to forgive it, to try to release it. And that's where a lot of them get stuck at. But that's where I go with it. First, they got to talk about it. They got to air that thing out, and then they have to let it go. And like I said before, anybody who knows an Aquarius, if your Aquarius is upset about something, if your Aquarius is always harping on something from the past, it's because they have not healed it. They have not forgiven it. They have not, I don't care what they say. They'll be like, oh, I forgave them. No, you didn't. No, you didn't, Aquarius. Because if you forgave it, it wouldn't still hurt. Anything that still hurts is not truly forgiven. And I had to learn that in myself. Because I used to always say, oh, I forgave this, I forgave that. But it still hurt. So if it still hurt, it's not really forgiven. You can't release something that's not forgiven. You can't release something that still hurts you. You have to deal with that aspect of it, and then you'll be able to move on. So if you're with an Aquarius and they're going through this process, or if they're not unpacking what needs to be unpacked, 9 times out of 10, they're not going to be able to move forward. So don't get caught up in having a relationship with somebody that you already know can't move forward. Keep a distance as far as emotional distance. And be there in the situation as long as you choose to. But you have to be aware of what you're walking into. You're walking into a situation with someone who's still hurting from a number of different things that they haven't dealt with. Okay? All right, guys. Thank you so much for being here with me today. If you would like to get a reading done, please check out my email. Email me and I will definitely give you an appointment. Likewise, if you'd like to get in contact with me, all my information will be underneath this video. If you want to be one of my patrons on Patreon, we got some real interesting stuff coming up for the next couple of months. So you may want to check out Patreon and become one of my patrons. Likewise, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and pass it on to somebody else who might be wondering the same thing about Aquarius. See you later.